Hey, come on now. You really gonna do me like that? I was just trying to be friendly.
Officer, I said I'm married and I'm trying to finish my run. I'm good.
Yeah? Well, now you got a problem, sweetheart. You don't get to just brush me off and walk away like I'm nobody.
I'm not brushing anyone off. I'm asking to leave.
See, that's where you messed up. You should have just played nice for 2 seconds.
Officer Brandon Whitaker had no clue that the stunning, athletic black woman he stopped for a flirty chat and then falsely accused of drug distribution would destroy his career in hours. This peaceful early morning jogger in Charlotte, North Carolina, turned out to be FBI Special Agent Kendra Washington, married to Chief Judge Elijah Washington. In the next few hours, Whitaker would lose his badge, face a federal probe, and the city would pay her $4.8 million in a settlement after a damning investigation exposed clear racial bias and abuse of power. This is the explosive story of one bad stop that blew up into national accountability. Before I continue, let me ask you, have you ever been treated unfairly by someone in power? Drop your answer in the comments. Let me know in the comments if you've ever seen a pattern like this in your town. Special Agent Kendra Washington was born on March 12, 1984, in Atlanta, Georgia, into a family deeply rooted in education and justice. Her father, Professor Reginald Washington, taught African American history at Morehouse College, while her mother, Principal Lorraine Washington, ran a high-performing public high school in the city. From childhood, Kendra was surrounded by stories of civil rights struggles and the importance of fairness under the law. She was an only child but never lacked drive. She was valedictorian of her high school class in 2002, captain of the track team, and a 2-time state champion in the 400-meter hurdles. Standing 5'8" with a sculpted athletic build from years of sprint training, long-toned legs, defined arms and shoulders, smooth deep brown skin that glowed under sunlight, high cheekbones, expressive almond-shaped dark brown eyes framed by long lashes, full lips often curved in a confident smile, and natural coiled hair usually pulled back into a neat ponytail during workouts, Kendra turned heads wherever she went. But her beauty was matched by sharp intellect and unshakable discipline. After high school, Kendra attended Howard University on a full academic scholarship, majoring in criminal justice with a minor in psychology. She graduated summa cum laude in 2006, earning the Dean's Award for Outstanding Leadership. During college, she interned with the Atlanta Police Department's Internal Affairs Unit and volunteered at a legal aid clinic helping victims of wrongful stops. These experiences convinced her that federal law enforcement could drive systemic change. She applied to the FBI Academy right after graduation and was accepted in the highly competitive 2007 class. Quantico training pushed her to her limits. She scored in the top 5% in firearms qualification, physical fitness tests, completing the obstacle course faster than most male recruits, and defensive tactics. Instructors noted her calm under pressure and natural investigative instincts. Upon graduation in late 2007, she was assigned to the Charlotte Field Office in North Carolina, starting in the Violent Crimes Squad before transferring to public corruption and white-collar crime by 2010. Kendra quickly built an impressive record. In 2012, she was the lead agent in Operation Clean Ledger, dismantling a $17 million embezzlement scheme involving 3 city council members in a nearby suburb. She spent 14 months undercover, gathering wiretap evidence and flipping 2 insiders who testified against the ringleaders, resulting in 4 convictions and $9.3 million recovered. In 2014, she led the takedown of a major healthcare fraud ring that bilked Medicare of $28 million. Her team executed 11 search warrants simultaneously, seizing servers and documents that proved kickback schemes. 2 doctors and a hospital administrator received prison sentences totaling 19 years. By 2016, Kendra was promoted to Supervisory Special Agent. She mentored new recruits and received the FBI Director's Award for Excellence in 2017 for her work on Operation Shadow Bid, exposing bid rigging in public construction contracts worth $41 million across 3 counties. Her calm, methodical approach contrasted with high-stakes pressure. She once conducted a 6-hour interview with a hostile witness that produced a full confession without raising her voice once. On the personal side, Kendra met Elijah Washington, then a rising prosecutor, at a community legal forum in 2010. They married in a private ceremony in 2012. Elijah rose rapidly, becoming a Superior Court judge in 2015 and Chief Judge of the Mecklenburg County Superior Court in 2018. Together, they have 2 children, daughter Maya 9 and son Cameron 6. The family lives in a quiet suburban neighborhood outside Charlotte. Kendra balances demanding FBI hours with family life by maintaining a strict morning jogging routine. 5:30 a.m. runs 3 to 4 times a week in local parks to clear her mind, process case details, and stay physically sharp. She runs 6-8 miles at a strong pace, wearing reflective gear, wireless earbuds for podcasts on criminal justice reform, and always carrying her FBI credentials and phone. Kendra is known among colleagues as level-headed, fiercely protective of civil rights, and someone who documents every interaction meticulously. Friends describe her as warm yet professional, a mentor who volunteers teaching self-defense classes for women at community centers. She has testified before congressional committees twice on racial disparities in policing and authored internal FBI reports recommending better bias training. On the morning of May 17, 2019, Kendra woke at 4:45 a.m. as usual. She kissed Elijah goodbye, checked on the sleeping kids, changed into black running tights, a fitted moisture-wicking top, lightweight sneakers, and a reflective vest. The weather was mild, 62 degrees F, clear skies, light breeze, perfect for her planned 7-mile loop through Freedom Park, a popular green space with winding trails, open fields, and few people before 6 a.m. She parked her silver SUV, stretched briefly, and began her jog at 5:20 a.m., enjoying the quiet rhythm of her footsteps on the gravel path. Officer Brandon Whitaker thought he could flirt with a beautiful woman jogging alone at dawn, and when rejected, slap on a flimsy drug-dealing suspicion to force compliance. He had no idea the woman was married to the chief judge of Mecklenburg County, or that his body cam footage would become the centerpiece of a federal civil rights investigation that ended his career and cost the city millions. In the next few hours, one of Charlotte's good all-boy patrol officers would see his entire record of questionable stops exposed, his badge stripped, and his name become a national symbol of racial profiling gone wrong. Before I continue, let me ask you, have you ever had someone in uniform use their power to intimidate or humiliate you? Drop your story in the comments, no names needed, just the truth. If stories like this matter to you, hit subscribe so you never miss the next one. Brandon Michael Whitaker was born June 9, 1988, in a small working-class suburb outside Gastonia, North Carolina. His father was a long-haul truck driver, his mother a part-time cashier. Brandon grew up in a household that idolized law enforcement. His uncle was a retired state trooper, and 2 cousins worked as county deputies. From age 12, he talked about becoming a cop. He was average in school, C+ student, played JV football until a knee injury sidelined him sophomore year. At 5'11" and 195 pounds, he stayed in decent shape through weightlifting and weekend pickup basketball. After high school, he enrolled in the local community college for criminal justice, but dropped out after 2 semesters when his girlfriend got pregnant. They married in 2008. The marriage lasted 19 months. He worked security at a mall and as a bouncer before finally joining the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department in March 2011 at age 22. He graduated the academy ranked 34th out of 62 recruits. Whitaker's early years on patrol were unremarkable: routine traffic stops, domestic calls, bar fights. But by 2014, a pattern began to emerge in internal complaint logs. Between 2014 and 2018, he received 6 citizen complaints for demeaning language, unnecessary prolongation of stops, and selective enforcement. 4 of the 6 complainants were Black or Latino drivers. None resulted in serious discipline. Each time he received a verbal counseling or performance note. Supervisors wrote variations of the same phrase. Officer Whitaker is enthusiastic and confident, but would benefit from additional cultural sensitivity training. In 2016, he was named in a civil lawsuit after a 23-year-old black college student claimed Whitaker detained him for 47 minutes during a pedestrian stop in Noda, repeatedly asking, "Where you really going? And you got anything on you I should know about?" Bodycam showed no reasonable suspicion. The young man was simply walking home from a late study session. The city settled for $87,000 in 2017 with no admission of wrongdoing. Whitaker was not disciplined. In 2017, he stopped a 41-year-old black woman for failure to maintain lane. At 2:17 a.m., she was driving home from her night shift nursing job. Dashcam audio captured him saying, "You're out kinda late for a nurse, huh? You sure you're not making deliveries?" She refused consent to search. He called for a K-9 that arrived 38 minutes later, circled the car twice, and alerted. A search found nothing. She filed an internal complaint. Whitaker received a 1-day suspension without pay, his only formal punishment before the Kendra, Washington incident. In early 2018, he was reassigned from the evening shift to the 5 a.m. 3 p.m. power shift, after supervisors noted he was overly aggressive during late-night traffic enforcement. Colleagues later told investigators he frequently bragged in the roll call room about knowing how to handle certain types of stops. One fellow officer, who asked to remain anonymous, reported hearing Whitaker say in 2018, "If they give you attitude, just flip it to drugs. Most of them fold when you mention narcotics." Whitaker had been married a second time since 2015 to a dental hygienist named Ashley. They had a daughter, age 4, and lived in a modest ranch-style home in Huntersville. He drove a lifted black F-150 with thin blue line and Punisher skull decals. On social media, before his accounts were scrubbed, he posted frequently about Back the Blue, gun range photos, and memes mocking defund the police activists. On the morning of May 17, 2019, Whitaker began his shift at 4:45 am. Roll call was routine. Coffee, small talk, reading of bolo sheets. At 5:12 am, he was dispatched to a minor vandalism call at a gas station on Freedom Drive, but cleared it quickly, just graffiti on a dumpster. By 5:28 am, he was cruising slowly through Freedom Park, headlights off, windows cracked, scanning the empty trails. The park was quiet except for the occasional early jogger or dog walker. He spotted Kendra Washington running alone on the main loop path, black leggings, reflective vest, ponytail bouncing with each stride. He slowed the cruiser to a crawl, watching her for nearly 40 seconds before activating his overhead lights. At 5:31 am, Kendra slowed from her 7:45 per mile pace to a walk as blue and red lights flashed behind her. She removed one earbud, turned, and raised both hands slightly to show compliance. Whitaker stepped out of his patrol car, leaving the door open, spotlight still trained on her. He approached with the casual swagger many officers use when they believe they have the upper hand. "Morning, beautiful," he said, voice loud enough to carry across the empty path. "You're up early. What's a lady like you doing out here all alone?" Kendra kept her tone even. "Good morning, officer, just my regular run, everything okay?" He smiled, stepping closer. "Yeah, everything's fine, just checking on you." "You know, pretty girl running in the dark, it could be dangerous. Where you headed?" "Home," she answered. "I live about 2 miles that way. I run this loop 4 times a week." He tilted his head. "Married?" "Yes." "Shame," he said, chuckling. "Ring looks nice though. Husband lets you run alone this early?" Kendra's expression hardened slightly. "Officer, I'm fine. I'm heading home now." She turned to resume her run. Whitaker's tone shifted instantly. "Hold up, not so fast. I didn't say you could leave." He stepped into her path. "I smell something. You got anything on you I should know about?" "No, sir." "See, I don't believe you. People who run away from questions usually have something to hide." "You got any drugs, weed, pills?" "No. Mind if I take a look?" "I do not consent to any search," he laughed. "You don't have to consent. I've got reasonable suspicion." Nervous behavior, early morning, alone in the park, evasive answers, that's enough for me. Kendra pulled out her phone. "I'm going to call my husband." "Go ahead," Whitaker said. "But you're not leaving until I figure out what you're really doing out here." At 5:34 am, Kendra dialed Elijah while Whitaker stood inches away, arms crossed, watching her every move. Officer Brandon Whitaker escalated a rejected flirt into a full-blown detention with zero evidence. And within minutes, the woman he was trying to intimidate called her husband, Chief Judge Elijah Washington. What started as a casual power play in a quiet Charlotte park at dawn exploded into one of the fastest, most humiliating career-ending moments any officer has ever faced. Bodycam footage would later show Whitaker smirking while handcuffing her, saying, "You should have just played nice," not realizing he had just detained a high-ranking FBI agent whose husband presided over the very courthouse where his fate would be decided. Before I continue, let me ask you, have you ever watched someone in uniform act like the rules don't apply to them? Type "Justice" in the comments if you think officers like this need to be held accountable. Share this story if you believe millions need to see what happens when power meets real consequences. At 5:34 am on May 17, 2019, Kendra Washington stood on the gravel path in Freedom Park, phone pressed to her ear, while Whitaker loomed over her, arms folded, cruiser lights still flashing. The early morning air was cool, birds just beginning to chirp, the park otherwise silent except for the low hum of the patrol car engine. "Hello?" Elijah's groggy voice came through. "Baby, it's me," Kendra said calmly. "I'm in Freedom Park. An officer just stopped me while I was running. He's refusing to let me leave. Says he has reasonable suspicion I'm involved with drugs. I've refused consent to search. He's not letting me go." There was a 3-second pause, then Elijah's tone changed completely, sharp, alert, judge mode activated. "Put him on the phone right now." Kendra held the phone out. "My husband would like to speak with you," Whitaker snorted. "I don't talk to husbands on the phone during a stop. Tell him to come down here if he's got a problem." "He's Chief Judge Elijah Washington," Kendra said evenly. "Mecklenburg County Superior Court." Whitaker's smirk froze for half a second, then he laughed, a short, dismissive bark. "Yeah, right, and I'm the president, nice try." He reached for the phone. Kendra pulled it back slightly. "I'm recording this call," she said, "and my body camera is rolling too." She wasn't wearing one, but he didn't know that. Whitaker's face hardened. "You think you can play games, hands behind your back? You're being detained for suspicion of narcotics possession and distribution." Kendra didn't resist. She slowly placed her hands behind her back. Whitaker spun her around roughly, clicked the cuffs on tight enough to pinch, then patted her down far more thoroughly than necessary, hands lingering on her waist and thighs. "Stop resisting," he muttered, even though she wasn't moving. "I'm not resisting," she replied calmly. "I'm complying." He marched her to the cruiser, opened the rear door, and placed her inside, shutting it with a hard slam. Then he got on his radio. "Unit 214, I've got one in custody. Female, black, approximately 35, detained in Freedom Park for suspicion of narcotics. Requesting a female officer for transport and a K-9 for vehicle and person sweep. Dispatch acknowledged. ETA for backup, 8-12 minutes." Inside the cruiser, Kendra sat upright, breathing steady, eyes fixed on the back of Whitaker's headrest. She was calculating. She knew exactly how this looked on Bodycam. A calm, cooperative woman in athletic were being aggressively detained by an officer who had already admitted on audio that he initiated contact because she was pretty and alone. She also knew Elijah was already moving. At 5:39 a.m., Elijah was out of bed, dressed in slacks and a polo, phone on speaker as he called the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office watch commander, a man he knew personally from years on the bench. "Commander Reynolds, this is Judge Washington. One of your officers just illegally detained my wife in Freedom Park. She's an FBI supervisory special agent. I need this handled immediately. Get someone with rank there now." Reynolds didn't hesitate. "Yes, sir. I'm dispatching Lieutenant Hayes and Internal Affairs Sergeant Patel right now. They'll be on scene in under 10 minutes. Back in the park, Whitaker sat in the driver's seat, glancing at Kendra in the rearview mirror every few seconds. He tried to make small talk, the kind that's really fishing. "So, you really married to some judge, or was that just a story to get out of this?" Kendra met his eyes in the mirror. "You'll find out soon enough." He chuckled again, but it sounded forced. "We'll see, K-9's coming. If that dog hits, you're done." At 5:42 a.m., a second patrol car arrived, Officer Lauren Carter, a 29-year-old white female officer with only 2 years on the force. Whitaker stepped out to brief her. "Got a runner who got mouthy, says she's married to a judge, probably bullshit. I want you to pat her down again thorough, then we wait for the dog." Carter hesitated. "Sarge said Lieutenant Hayes is en route, maybe we should wait." Whitaker waved her off. "Nah, we're good, just do the search." Carter approached the rear door, opened it, and spoke softly to Kendra. "Ma'am, I'm going to remove the cuffs temporarily so I can conduct a proper pat-down. Any weapons or contraband on you?" "None," Kendra answered. "And I'm not consenting to any search beyond what's required for officer safety." Carter uncuffed her. Kendra stepped out slowly, hands visible. Carter conducted a professional, non-invasive pat-down, nothing like Whitaker's earlier grope. She found nothing, of course. At 5:47 a.m., the K-9 unit arrived, a German shepherd named Rex and his handler, Officer Miguel Torres. Torres walked Rex around Kendra first. The dog showed no interest, no alert, no paw raise, no bark, then around the cruiser. Again nothing, Whitaker's face tightened. "Run him again," Torres did, same result. "Nothing, man," Torres said, shrugging. "Clean," Whitaker's jaw clenched. "Fine, put her back in the car, we'll transport her to the station and write the report there." Kendra spoke up. "I'm invoking my right to remain silent and I request an attorney." Whitaker rolled his eyes. Yeah, you'll get your phone call." But before he could close the door again, 2 more vehicles screeched into the park entrance, an unmarked black SUV and a marked supervisor's car. Lieutenant Daniel Hayes stepped out first, followed by Internal Affairs Sergeant Priya Patel, and most importantly, 2 FBI special agents from Kendra's own Charlotte field office who had been alerted by Elijah. Lieutenant Hayes walked straight up to Whitaker. "Officer Whitaker, step away from the vehicle now," Whitaker blinked. "Lieutenant, I've got a lawful detention here." "No," Hayes cut him off. "You don't. Uncuff the detainee immediately. This stops right now." Officer Brandon Whitaker watched his whole world collapse in under 25 minutes, from smirking while handcuffing a suspicious jogger to standing frozen as federal agents, Internal Affairs, and his own lieutenant forced him to release her immediately with no charges, no ticket, nothing. The woman he falsely detained turned out to be FBI Supervisory Special Agent Kendra Washington, married to Chief Judge Elijah Washington. Bodycam footage captured the exact moment Whitaker's face drained of color when the FBI badges came out. What followed was the fastest internal investigation in Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department history, one that exposed years of similar stops and ended with Whitaker suspended within hours. Before I continue, let me ask you, what would you do if an officer detained you for no reason other than rejecting their advances? Comment power trip if you've seen this kind of abuse before. If you think every officer should wear body cams that are reviewed after every stop, hit that like button right now. At 5:49 a.m., Lieutenant Daniel Hayes stood between Whitaker and the cruiser door while 2 FBI agents, Special Agents Marcus Reed and Sophia Chen from the Charlotte field office approached Kendra. "Ma'am, I'm Agent Reed. We were contacted by your husband. Are you okay?" Reed asked, voice low and professional. Kendra nodded, rubbing her wrists where the cuffs had pinched. "I'm physically fine, but I want this documented, full report." Now, Hayes turned to Whitaker. "Uncuff her immediately and step back. This detention is over. There is no probable cause, no positive K-9 alert, no evidence of any crime. You're releasing her on scene." Whitaker's voice rose. "Lieutenant, I had reasonable suspicion. She was evasive, alone in the park at dawn, wouldn't answer my questions directly." Hayes cut him off sharply. "Your body cam tells a different story. We just reviewed the first 3 minutes. You initiated contact by calling her beautiful and asking if she was married. That's not suspicion of narcotics. That's something else entirely." Whitaker's face flushed red. "That's not how it went down." Agent Chen stepped forward. "Officer Special Agent Washington is one of ours. Supervisory Special Agent, Public Corruption Squad. You just detained a federal agent without cause, conducted an unauthorized search, and ignored her invocation of rights. This is now a federal matter as well." Whitaker blinked rapidly. "Federal agent, she never showed me a badge," Kendra spoke clearly. "You never asked for identification. You went straight to handcuffs after I told you I was married and refused consent." At that moment, a black Mercedes SUV pulled up fast. Elijah Washington stepped out, still in casual clothes but carrying the authority of the bench. He walked straight to Kendra, embraced her briefly, then turned to Lieutenant Hayes. "Lieutenant, I want Officer Whitaker's name, badge number, and a copy of the body cam footage right now. My wife is filing a formal complaint for false imprisonment, racial profiling, sexual harassment, and violation of her 4th and 14th Amendment rights. Internal Affairs needs to be here yesterday." Sergeant Priya Patel from IA was already on her tablet, taking initial statements. She pulled Whitaker aside. "Officer Whitaker, you are being placed on administrative leave effective immediately pending investigation. Do not discuss this incident with anyone except your union rep or legal counsel. Surrender your badge and service weapon to Lieutenant Hayes right now." Whitaker protested loudly. "This is bullshit." She fit the description, early morning runner, nervous, wouldn't cooperate. Patel raised an eyebrow. "Nervous, she was jogging, and the only description you had was black woman running alone. That's not reasonable suspicion. That's a problem." By 6:05 a.m., Kendra was free. She stood with Elijah and the FBI agents while Patel recorded her statement on video. Kendra recounted every detail calmly and precisely. The flirtatious opening line, the marriage question, the immediate shift to drug accusations when she tried to leave, the tight handcuffs, the invasive pat-down, the failed K-9, the 34-minute detention with zero evidence. Elijah added, "This isn't isolated. My wife is a federal agent, but what about the average black woman who doesn't have a judge on speed dial? How many times has this officer done this before?" Patel nodded. "We're pulling every stop Whitaker has made in the last 5 years. We already have 6 prior complaints matching this pattern." Whitaker stood 20 feet away, watching his career evaporate. Officer Carter and Torres avoided eye contact. The K-9 handler muttered to another officer, "Man, this looks bad, real bad." At 6:18 a.m., the first news tip went out from a park maintenance worker who had arrived early and filmed part of the scene on his phone. Within an hour, local media would be calling the department for comment. Kendra looked directly at Whitaker across the grass before leaving. "Officer, I hope you learn from this. Because next time it might not be someone who can fight back." Whitaker didn't reply. He handed over his badge and Glock 22 to Hayes with shaking hands. The internal investigation into Officer Brandon Whitaker moved at lightning speed. Within hours of the park incident, Internal Affairs uncovered 14 prior stops with nearly identical patterns of targeting black women jogging or walking alone, turning flirtation into fake drug suspicions. Bodycam footage from the Kendra Washington stop became the smoking gun, Whitaker's own words admitting he stopped her because she was pretty and alone, then fabricating suspicion after she said she was married. By midday, the story leaked, national media was circling, and the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department was facing its biggest racial bias scandal in years. Before I continue, let me ask you, if bodycam footage shows an officer lying about reasonable suspicion, should they be fired on the spot? Comment "fire him" or "reform now." I read everyone. If you want to see how deep this pattern really goes, smash that subscribe button. Next part reveals the full list of victims. By 7:15 a.m., Sergeant Priya Patel's Internal Affairs team had seized Whitaker's bodycam, dashcam, and cruiser GPS data. They isolated themselves in the IA conference room at headquarters and began the review. The first 90 seconds were damning. Whitaker approaching Kendra, "Morning, beautiful, you're up early. What's a lady like you doing out here all alone?" Kendra, "Just my regular run." Whitaker married, Kendra, yes. Whitaker chuckling. Shame, ring looks nice though. Husband lets you run alone this early. 30 seconds later after Kendra tried to leave, hold up, not so fast, I smell something. You got any drugs, weed, pills? Patel paused the video. No odor mentioned in his report, no furtive movements. This is manufactured suspicion. They pulled Whitaker's prior stops. 14 incidents since 2016 matched the pattern. 2016. Black female jogger in South Park, 28 minutes detained, no K-9 hit released. 2017, Latina woman walking her dog at 6 a.m., asked if she was carrying anything extra, refused search. 2018, 3 separate black women runners in different parks, all asked personal questions about marital status before drug accusations. 2019, pre-May. 2 more, including one where he told a 42-year-old black nurse, "You look too good to be out here alone, you sure you're not meeting someone?" Internal Affairs interviewed Officer Lauren Carter first. She was visibly uncomfortable. He told me to do a second pat-down even though the K-9 was negative, said these types always hide stuff. I didn't like it, but he's senior. Officer Miguel Torres, the K-9 handler. Rex had zero interest. Whitaker made me run the dog twice anyway. I've seen him do this before. He calls it flipping the script when they reject him. A veteran sergeant, anonymous in report, admitted overhearing Whitaker in the locker room. If she's fine and gives attitude, just say narcotics. Works every time, most don't fight it. By 9:30 a.m. the first leak hit. A park groundskeeper's cell phone video showing Kendra in cuffs next to the flashing cruiser appeared on a local Facebook group. By 10 a.m. it was on Twitter, now X, with the caption "CMPD officer detains black woman jogging for what?" The hashtag #Freedom Park Stop started trending locally. At 10:45 a.m., Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Chief Marcus Harrington held an emergency press conference. Flanked by the city attorney, he read a prepared statement. "We take all allegations of misconduct seriously. Officer Whitaker has been placed on administrative leave. A full investigation is underway, including review of body-worn camera footage. We do not tolerate bias or abuse of authority." Reporters shouted questions. Was she really suspected of drugs? How many prior complaints does this officer have? Chief Harrington declined to answer specifics but promised transparency. Meanwhile, Kendra and Elijah met with her FBI supervisor and a top civil rights attorney, Aisha Thompson, in a downtown Charlotte law office. Thompson reviewed the body cam on her laptop. "This is textbook. Sexual harassment via authority, racial profiling, false imprisonment. We're filing a Section 1983 federal lawsuit today naming Whitaker personally and the city for failure to train and supervise. We'll seek 8 figures minimum." Elijah added, "And I'm recusing myself from any related cases, but the pattern here is systemic. We want policy changes, mandatory bias audits, body cam reviews after every pedestrian stop." Whitaker, isolated at home in Huntersville, sat with his union representative and a criminal defense lawyer. He tried to explain, "She was acting suspicious, I had a hunch." The union rep shook his head. "The video shows otherwise. We're recommending you stay silent publicly. IA already has enough to recommend termination." By 2 p.m., more body cam clips leaked online. One showed Whitaker smirking while saying, "You should have just played nice," as he placed Kendra in the cruiser. Public outrage exploded. Protesters gathered outside CMPD headquarters by 4 p.m. holding signs. "Stop flirting, start policing, and no more fake drug stops." At 5:50 p.m., Internal Affairs completed its preliminary report. Recommendation: immediate termination of Brandon Whitaker for misconduct, policy violations, and conduct unbecoming an officer. The report explicitly noted racial bias as a contributing factor. Officer Brandon Whitaker's termination hearing lasted only 47 minutes, the fastest in department history. Bodycam evidence, 14 prior similar incidents, and witness testimony proved he used his badge to flirt, punish rejection, and fabricate drug suspicions against black women. He was fired that same afternoon. But the real reckoning came when Kendra Washington's federal civil rights lawsuit forced the city of Charlotte to pay her $4.8 million in settlement, the largest single-officer misconduct payout in North Carolina history, while exposing deep racial bias problems across the entire police force. Before I continue, let me ask you, should officers who show a clear pattern of targeting people based on race and appearance be banned from law enforcement for life? Comment, lifetime ban, if you agree this kind of abuse must end. If you want to know the exact amount of money Whitaker personally had to pay out of pocket, drop compensation in the comments. The full Internal Affairs investigation concluded on May 24, 2019, just 7 days after the incident. The 187-page report was brutal. It documented 17 total stops by Whitaker from 2016-2019 involving Black or Latino women in early morning or late night hours where he initiated contact with personal compliments, asked about marital status, and then pivoted to narcotics accusations when rejected. Only 2 resulted in actual charges, both dismissed. Bodycam footage in 11 cases showed the same script: "You're too pretty to be out here alone." Whitaker's termination hearing was held May 28 in a closed session. He appeared with his union lawyer and read a short statement claiming poor judgment and miscommunication. The panel, 3 senior commanders and 1 civilian review board member, played key clips from the Kendra stop. Whitaker on camera: "Shame, ring looks nice though. Husband lets you run alone this early. Later, you should have just played nice." The panel voted 3-0 to terminate him for cause. By 3:15 p.m. that day, Whitaker turned in his ID, keys, and department-issued items. He walked out of headquarters without his badge for the first time in 8 years. The civil lawsuit filed by Kendra on May 22 in U.S. District Court was devastating. Named defendants: Whitaker personally, the City of Charlotte, and Police Chief Marcus Harrington for failure to train and supervise. Evidence included the full body cam, GPS data proving Whitaker followed Kendra for 40 seconds before stopping her, failed K-9 results, and sworn statements from 5 previous victims who came forward after the media coverage. One victim, 31-year-old Black teacher Simone Brooks, testified she was detained 29 minutes in 2018 after Whitaker asked if she was meeting a boyfriend during her morning run. Another, 44-year-old nurse Denise Carter, described identical tactics. During deposition, Whitaker admitted under oath, "I sometimes used narcotics suspicion as a tool when subjects were uncooperative." His lawyer tried to claim qualified immunity, but federal judge denied it, citing clearly established violations. Settlement talks began in July 2019. The city, facing mounting public pressure and daily protests, agreed to a $4.8 million payout to Kendra in October 2019, $3.2 million for emotional distress and civil rights violations, $1.1 million for punitive damages against Whitaker personally, garnished from his pension and future wages, and $500,000 for attorney fees. The agreement included mandatory policy reforms, annual racial bias audits, bodycam reviews within 48 hours for all pedestrian stops, and new training on consent versus coercion. Whitaker declared personal bankruptcy in 2020 to avoid full payment, but the judgment remains on his record. He now works security at a warehouse outside Gastonia, his law enforcement career over. The department faced additional consequences. Chief Harrington retired under pressure in 2020. 2 other officers received suspensions for similar patterns discovered during the wider audit. The city implemented a civilian oversight board with subpoena power and paid out another $2.3 million in related settlements to 4 other victims. Kendra returned to work after 2 weeks, promoted to assistant special agent in charge. She now leads national training programs on recognizing and preventing biased policing. Elijah continues as chief judge and has presided over several high-profile excessive force cases. Freedom Park now has better lighting and more morning foot patrols after community demands. Part 7 expanded and final, 7 years after that fateful May morning in Freedom Park. The ripple effects of one 34-minute detention still echo through courtrooms, police academies, and living rooms across the country. Officer Brandon Whitaker, once a confident patrolman with a thin blue line decal on his truck, is now 37, living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Gastonia, working overnight security shifts at a distribution warehouse for $19.15 an hour. His police pension was heavily garnished to satisfy part of the $1.1 million punitive damages judgment against him personally. He drives a 2012 Honda Civic. The lifted black F-150 was repossessed in 2020. His second marriage collapsed in 2021 amid the stress of lawsuits, media scrutiny, and constant reminders of that single stop he thought would be no big deal. He rarely leaves his neighborhood. Former colleagues say he's become reclusive, one told a reporter off-record in 2024. Brandon still believes he was just doing his job, but he knows he crossed a line he can't uncross. He has never attempted to return to law enforcement. His name remains permanently flagged in every background check database used by agencies nationwide. Kendra Washington, now 41, has transformed from the victim of that morning into one of the most respected voices on police accountability in the United States. Promoted to assistant special agent in charge of the Charlotte FBI field office in 2022, she now oversees a specialized unit investigating public corruption and civil rights abuses by state and local law enforcement. At 5'8", still strikingly athletic, Her deep brown skin glows under stage lights when she speaks. Her natural coiled hair is often styled in elegant high twists or sleek braids for professional appearances. She maintains the same disciplined 5:30 a.m. running routine, 4 mornings a week through Freedom Park, but now occasionally with a small protective detail during high-profile periods. She still wears the same reflective vest, same lightweight sneakers, same wireless earbuds playing criminal justice reform podcasts or audiobooks on leadership. The park has changed too. Better lighting installed along every trail, new trailhead cameras, and morning community safety patrols funded partly through the settlement proceeds. Kendra and Chief Judge Elijah Washington remain a power couple in Charlotte. Their children, Maya, now 16, captain of her high school debate team and already accepted to Howard University early admission, and Cameron, 13, competitive track sprinter like his mother, have grown up hearing the story not as trauma, but as proof that truth and evidence can defeat abuse of power. The family still lives in the same quiet suburban home, though they added reinforced security after the initial media storm. Elijah, still Chief Judge of Mecklenburg County Superior Court, has presided over several landmark excessive force and civil rights cases since 2019, always recusing himself from anything connected to the Whitaker incident. Together, Kendra and Elijah have become sought-after speakers at national conferences on policing reform. The $4.8 million settlement, finalized October 15, 2019, broke records in North Carolina for a single officer misconduct case. Breakdown: $3.2 million for emotional distress, loss of liberty, and civil rights violations. $1.1 million in punitive damages against Whitaker personally. He paid roughly $420,000 before bankruptcy wiped the rest, but the judgment follows him for life. $500,000 in attorney fees. The city also agreed to sweeping policy changes that became a model for other departments. Mandatory review of Bodycam footage within 24 hours for every pedestrian, traffic. An investigative stop, annual independent racial disparity audits of all enforcement actions, de-escalation, and implicit bias training. Developed with input from civil rights organizations, creation of a civilian oversight board with subpoena power, and public reporting requirements, new protocol requiring officers to document specific, articulable facts before initiating any investigative detention between 2020 and 2025. Citizen complaints involving racial bias in pedestrian stops dropped 43% in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. 2 other officers with overlapping patterns were forced into early retirement. 3 more received long suspensions. Chief Harrington retired for personal reasons in early 2020 amid mounting pressure. His successor publicly stated in 2023 that the Washington case saved the department from a federal consent decree and forced us to become better. The Bodycam clip of Whitaker saying, "You should have just played nice," while placing Kendra in the cruiser has been viewed over 47 million times across platforms. It appears in police academy curricula in at least 14 states, civil rights training programs, and law school case studies. In 2021, it was cited during congressional hearings on the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. A 2023 documentary short, Dawn Run, featuring Kendra's first-person account and never-before-seen Bodycam angles, won Best Short Documentary at the Tribeca Film Festival and has streamed on major platforms ever since. Every May 17, Kendra returns to Freedom Park alone at 5:20 a.m. She jogs the same loop, pauses at the exact spot where the red and blue lights first flashed behind her, and spends a quiet moment reflecting. In a 2025 interview she said, "That morning I wasn't just a jogger. I was every black woman who's been stopped, questioned, touched, or disbelieved simply for existing in public space. The difference is I had a badge, a husband in the courthouse, and evidence that couldn't be ignored. Most people don't. That's why the fight didn't end when I walked away from that cruiser." Whitaker has never publicly apologized. In a rare 2024 interview with a local podcaster conducted anonymously, he said only, "I made mistakes, I paid for them, I'm trying to move on." But the judgment still deducts money from every paycheck. This is what real accountability looks like. One man loses his career, his marriage, his future in law enforcement. One woman gains a national platform to change systems. One city is forced to confront its patterns and reform. And millions of people watching the footage are left asking the same question: what would have happened if she hadn't been married to a judge? If she hadn't been an FBI agent? If there had been no Bodycam? Before we close this series, let me ask you one last time. Do you believe departments should face even larger financial penalties when officers show repeated patterns of bias? Type bigger settlements if you think money talks. Type lifetime bans if you believe people like Whitaker should never wear a badge again anywhere. If this 7-part story shook you, angered you, or gave you hope, share it. Tag someone who needs to see what happens when power meets evidence. Drop "justice served" in the comments if you think Kendra and Elijah won more than a lawsuit, they won a precedent. Thank you for staying with this entire story. Your comments, shares, and reactions made it matter. See you in the next one.